pickup. But if you need immediate usability, we already talked about a few names like Darius Slayton, T.Y. Hilton could be good streams. But also, I wouldn't be shocked if the number one receiver pickup of this week, particular week 8, comes from the Packers, given that now we have not only Devontae Adams, who we talked about last stream, but now Allen Lazard, who would have been maybe number 3 or 4 overall on my waiver wire pickups should he have been on the guy. He's scored touchdowns in back-to-back weeks, had nearly 20% target share these last couple of weeks. Bam, he's now on the COVID-19 list too. So who's it going to be? Well, they're hopeful Marquez Valdez-Scantling returns for week 8, and I think he'd walk right into an alpha role. All the camp speculation was this guy has truly taken his game to another level. He's earned Rodgers' trust at a new pace at this point. And he was playing pretty decent to start the year. A lot of big plays and touchdowns dependency, but still also some short yardage goal line stuff he was scoring on. I'd be very intrigued should he play because I think he'd be the number one de facto receiver here. And at 5% rostered, worth a spot, certainly if you have Adams or need just a plug-in gap filler this week. Cobb also could be the de facto number one should MVS play, and it might just be anyways, as the guy that is veteran here, 9% rostered, who has Aaron Rodgers' firm trust. I'm just worried that Cobb can't handle number ones and might get completely taken out of the game should he be thrust into that role. But a good bet, great in the red zone with Rodgers on those broken plays, like could be the guy. And then St. Brown, also 0% rostered, so certainly out there in your league, could be the de facto number one. They're facing the Cardinals, who are obviously going to put up their points, one of the most explosive offenses in the game on Thursday night. There is still a slight chance Adams could get cleared, and then these guys would be useless, and that's kind of why they're a bit lower on the list. There is a world where they just aren't meaningful at all. But MVS of them all, I think, for this week and just long-term, has the most appeal. So I would go there first and should be potentially the number one receiver here this week. In terms of QB streamers, I keep going back to the well. I get off the train, I cut him, I hate him, and then he just continues to run all over the yard. Daniel Jones, 28% rostered, still only worth 2 to 3% of your fab because there is like Tua, and there's other guys out there. You don't need to go to him, but he gets Kansas City. Top 3 matchup for QBs, and in particular, why I love it, 6.1 carries and nearly 40 yards per game on the ground. Rushing-wise, 2 QBs. That's both in the bottom 5 against the position. That's where Daniel Jones butters his bread, baby. They're calling the runs for him no matter what. Even with these injuries, he's still very athletic with the sneaky Konami upside. And they've also, the Chiefs have been blitzed for 6.6 yards per play. That's the most in the league. If Daniel Jones is good for anything, it's running and it's chucking just prayers up there. And if there's ever a team that's going to work against, it's the Chiefs. So I like Daniel Jones as a streamer Monday Night Football, better on the road, so I'm not worried about that fact. So check him out. Now we're getting a real desperation, but Kalif Raymond, 3% rostered, worth at least 2 or so percent if you're desperate for a wide receiver. He now leads the wide receiver rooms in targets these past 2 games with 15 total. He's actually scored 10, 18, 0. That's the risk here. 7 and 15 across his last 5 games. So double digits in 3 out of the 5. He's seen 6 or more targets in 4 of the last 5 games. Scored 2 touchdowns in that span. Been a top 14 receiver in 2 of those 4 weeks. I mean, there's something here with Quintez Cephas on IR, with, Amon St. Brown just in and out of consistency. I think Kalif Raymond, who was hyped up by The Athletic, they do that great article to begin every season of breakout players on every team. He was their pick. He's getting it done. He's got Goff's trust. There's not much else to it. It's not sexy, but on a team that's going to need to throw and throw quite often, Kalif Raymond's kind of become the number one receiver there. Last 2, a couple tight ends for you. Evan Engram, 31% roster. That's actually higher than I expected, but I think he's worth 1 to 2% of your budget. Averages 4 catches for 34.2 yards since he returned in week 3, but now gets a Chiefs team that's averaging 11.5 yards per attempt, 2 tight ends, 575 yards. Those are both league highs. And we just saw him come into 24% target share, Evan Engram, without Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney this last Sunday. So yeah, I prefer Uzomah. I think he's the number one guy for sure. But if you need a streamer on Monday night, again, we don't know who's in and who's out yet, but especially if the other guys are trending towards out, this could be a great smash top 12 play that's available in a lot of leagues. And last is more of a stash tight end, but I'm really intrigued by Pat Freiermuth, yet another athletic freak drafted by the Pittsburgh who know their pass catchers quite well. Local boy, shout out to Newburyport there. He ran the Pittsburgh Steelers did run 12 personnel on 23% of their plays since their first game without Juju. That was a season high rate. And he played Freiermuth 45 snaps, 60%. That was also a season high there. And he saw a season high. We'll keep saying season high, season high, season high. 7 targets, 17.5% target share there. Turned 5 of them into receptions. Very solid usage there. I'd love to see what the kid does. Behind only Kyle Pitts in this class in terms of a prospect. And he's already seems to be coming into his own, had multiple touchdowns throughout the preseason. That's kind of his thing. Big touchdown body on a team that's going to need some playmakers to step up here as the injuries continue to mount there for the Steelers. So definitely intrigued by him. Let's give you a couple stashes here, folks. But if you haven't and you like what you're hearing, please consider giving us a thumb up. Let us get out to more people. Share the links out. Drop it in Facebook groups, all that good stuff. We have about 30 questions. Cannot wait to answer them all for you guys, Wolfpack. Last few here to stash and see. A lot of this has to do with maybe Deshaun Watson landing somewhere. That's Will Fuller, 29% rostered. He might go and get his boy back, Deshaun Watson, should he get traded to the Dolphins, who, by all accounts, are the front runners. They've, quote-unquote, told teams you have to beat Miami's offer if you want them, according to Jay Glazer. So we'll see. That's why I'm faithful that Watson will get traded and will play at some point this year. It's probably going to be to the Dolphins. Again, hopefully it's the Panthers. But Will Fuller would immediately go from waiver wire fodder to a top 20 receiver, a guy that he's consistently dominated with in Deshaun Watson. Definitely worth the stash, in my opinion. If you have the bench space, he can also be in your IR as of right now as well. Terrace Marshall, only 6% rostered, but that's just more so if, of course, Watson goes there, his value would skyrocket as well. And then just a couple running backs to take note of. Marlon Mack, 17% rostered right now, still in trade conversations. I don't know that there's tons of backfields out there that's like Marlon Mack's here. Now he's suddenly very fantasy viable. So I'm not sitting out here saying it's necessary to go get him. But hey, maybe he goes to the Chiefs and Darrell Williams after an underwhelming second encore performance. Maybe Mack gets some touches there in one of the more explosive offenses in the league. Last but not least, I do want to mention Jarrett Patterson for the Washington football team. They're working out running backs, which tells me Antonio Gibson might not be quite right yet and could get shut down. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.